today we're going to be looking at a verbal reasoning question type. Word games. How do these questions work? Well, you've got a word in the middle that's been comprised of letters from two words on either side. Right? So if we take a look at an example over here, we have this word cost, turn the pointer on, that word cost, which is formed from cone and fist. Right? In other words, the letters from cost are comprised of letters from cone and letters from the word fist. You're then given a second set of words, right? So over here, stop and play, and you have to come up with the word that goes in the middle. Now, one way to go about doing these questions is to first of all, number the word cone, 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm also going to number the word fist, 5, 6, 7, 8. Because that can then help you decide, okay, where the letter C-O-S-T come from. C is number 1, O, 2, S is 7, and T comes from the 8th letter. Now, whatever pattern we have over here, the same pattern applies for the question that we have. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to number stop, just like I did before. 1, 2, 3, 4. Play will number 5, 6, 7, 8. Right? And we know that in our brackets we should have the numbers 1, 2, 7, and 8, which correspond to, in this particular case, S, T, 7 is A, and 8 is Y. And as a last check, you should make sure that what you have in the brackets is in fact a word. Now, sometimes you have situations where you have more than one option, right? So in other words, the letter can come from either side. It can come from the word on the left-hand side of the bracket or the word on the right-hand side of the bracket. So we're going to have a look at an example of that particular type. So once again, what you do is number the first word, have a look at the word in the middle. C corresponds to the number 5. A corresponds to the number 2. L corresponds to, now either L can come from the 3rd position or the 7th position. Right? So when that happens, what I would do is I'd write both of those numbers on top of that letter. And the M can only come from the very first word and the first letter in the first word, so number 1. Now, like I said before, in your particular question, right, it should follow the same patterns. We start by numbering. Now, the first letter corresponds to number 5, so that is, let's write over here, P. The second letter of our word comes from the second letter, which is the second letter of the first word, which is L. Now, the third letter, this is where things can be different. It is either going to be A or U. Right, so we don't know which one yet, so it's a good idea to just write both of them down first. So I'll write A over here, U over here. And then the very last letter is the first letter of the first word, so number 1, so S. So let me write S over here, right? But I said at the very beginning that the word that we have in the bracket needs to be a word. So when you have multiple options, test out the letters and see what makes a word. So if we were to try P-L-A-S plus, it's not really a word, right? But P-L-U-S plus is a word. So we know that it's not A, the option is going to be U. So if I get rid of the A, right, our answer should be plus. Let's have a look at a few more examples, right? So the first one that we have over here is we have the word guard on the left-hand side, so let's number that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. On the right-hand side, we have the letter fears. Let's number that, so that's going to be 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And have a look at the word in the middle, fudge, and let's see what letters correspond to what position as well. The F is position 6. U is position 2. D is position 5. G is number 1. And E is 7. Have a look at your question, do the same, start numbering the word on the left-hand side, number the word on the right-hand side, and remember in the middle, our number code is 62517, which corresponds to P, O, A, the number 5, number 1 is C, and number 7 corresponds to the letter H. Right, poach, and that is your answer. Let's have a look at another example where, once again, you have more than one option. So we have, on the left-hand side, the word dent, and on the right-hand side, the word raw. You're going to number those. Now, what you should notice over here is this R can come from either the fifth letter in this word or the first letter in this word or the last letter in this word, which correspond to the numbers 5 and 8. So I would, at the top of the R, write 5 and then 8 underneath. E is our second letter. N corresponds to number 3, and T corresponds to 4. For our particular word, the very first letter, it's either going to come from number 5 or number 8. So if we write both of those to start with, and we'll figure out which one it is once we've got the rest of the letters in. Now 2, 3, and 4 are the next letters, and they are A, N, and D. So let's have a think. What could the word be? Well, sand, S-A-N-D, that's a word. E-A-N-D, is that a word? No. So our option over here is sand. Let's have a look at another one. On the left-hand side, we have the word snared. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. On the right-hand side, we have the word force. For this particular example, on the left and right-hand side, we have words of different lengths, right? On the left-hand side, you have a 6-letter word. On the right-hand side, you have a 5-letter word. And in the middle, scone, we have a 5-letter word, right? Just because it's slightly different to the previous examples, don't let that throw you off. Just follow the same method. All right, so have a look and see, okay, where does S come from? Well, S is the first letter. What about the C? C comes from number 10. What about O? O is 8. N is 2. Now E, there's an E in the first word and an E in the second word, so E can come from either position 5 or position 11. Now, if you have a look at our question, on the left-hand side we have the word flawed, on the right-hand side we have the word abray, meaning to wake. Let's start working out what our word could be. So, first letter is F. Now we'd want the letter that corresponds to position 10, which is A, number 8, which is B, number 2, which is L, and we want now either 5 or 11, so let's write both of the letters down. So it's either E, which corresponds to number 5, or Y. Let's have a think, what could our possible answer be? Well, we could have the word fable, right, which is like a story with a meaning, or fably, right, and I'm pretty sure fably is not a word, so the answer should be fable. So let's put the correct letter in. Let's have a look at one more example where you may actually have 2 possible sets of letters that are repeating. Right, so I'll show you what I mean with this example here. Leaf, we have an L in calf and we have an L in left. Right, so that could be either number 3 or 5. E corresponds to position 6. A corresponds to position 2. And F can either come from the numbers 4 or 7. So you can see in this case that you have more than one option in 2 particular positions. Right? That's this position and this position. Now, number the words just as we have done before. Now, our first letter is either going to correspond to numbers 3 and 5. So that's T or M. So again, write both of those down. Our middle 2 letters are from 6, which is O, and 2, which in this case is A. And then our last letters could be coming from either number 4, which is E, or number 7, which is D. It might help you to write down the potential words that it could be. So we could have, if we kept the first letter as a T, you could have the word T-O-A, and if we kept the last letter E, Toa, I can't even pronounce that, so I'm pretty sure that's not a word. Let's try, once again, keeping the first letter the same, and then maybe just changing the last letter. So we'd end up with T-O-A-D, toad, which is a word. But let's just double check and make sure that we don't have any other word there. So if we now keep the first letter as an M, you could have M-O-A-E, which is not a word, right? And then maybe changing the E to the D. Does that become a word? M-O-A-D, moad? No, that's not a word. So the answer in this particular case is toad. Thank you for watching. I hope you found today's video useful. If you'd like a copy of our verbal reasoning book, the link is in the video description.